Hi and welcome to the Coaching with Mendy podcast. Today we have a beautiful guest, Gabriela Embon, who is an elite relationship coach. And actually, we know each other for quite some time. And she's worked with couples in marriage. She also has an academy of coaching, also produced some books, and she's in this relationship for over 15 years. And I think everybody can use help in marriage, no matter how many years you're married, no matter what age you are. You can learn in marriage on a daily basis, and no matter where you live in the world. And it says it's meant for all types of couples, all races, all colors, and all ages. And there's never a time to say, actually, you know, I've graduated from that.
That's true. That's
That's
very
true.
true.
So I would like to hear, first of all, what made you go into this particular subject. That's quite interesting.
Well, thank you for having me, first and foremost. It's a
Sure.
pleasure to be chatting with you about and discussing a topic that is so dear to my heart. So like you mentioned, I've been in the world of coaching for the last 16 years in different avenues, in private practice and in, teaching and certifying coaches. But what I started seeing when I was coaching individuals on life coaching, career coaching, self-esteem is that when the topic of relationships, the topic of marriage or committed relationship was brought to the table, there was a lot of inadequacy that I felt people were having around that topic. And what was interesting is that topic always came naturally to me. I've been married for 28 years, happily married, and I also have very good examples at home. My parents had a beautiful relationship. My grandparents had a beautiful relationship. And I realized that there is a gap between what people want to experience in their relationships, but what they're actually doing or how they're approaching the process. And more importantly, there was a mindset that I started feeling is that marriage is something static. It's something you acquire on your wedding day, or committed relationships when you commit, and then that's it. You hope for the best. And I would say, but love is not a strategy. We do need to do marriage development, same as you do career development, business development. And that's when I realized that that was my next calling, to start teaching how to do marriage and empower couples, first and foremost, to believe that it's possible to create a very fulfilling, as I said in the book, a legendary relationship, but also show them how to do that. And that's how the book was born as well.
That's beautiful. So you've mentioned love and marriage. I know there's different customs with different nationalities, how they meet. And do you believe or know that a couple has love right in the beginning, or that is something that you need to go up the ladder? And to explain also what is really love, because I think there's a misconception also what love is. It can look like a fairy tale.
Yes. And the thing in the beginning is we feel that we love unconditionally. So I'm gonna separate marriages that are arranged marriages and marriages that people choose each other without any help of a professional or a matchmaker. So in those type of marriages, people usually fall in love in the beginning. They go through what we call the honeymoon phase, and they think that in the beginning that is unconditional love, right? We're so giving, so generous. We want to hear, we want to listen. But in fact, that particular phase that usually lasts 6 months to 2 years, depending on the person, it's actually when we are the most conditional.
Correct.
Right?
Because Both they want to get and give. They both get. They
Exactly.
both want to get.
Exactly. We are giving generously because we want to win the person, and also because the other person is giving us. So even though it feels like we're being unconditional because we're so giving, there is a hidden agenda behind my giving, and the hidden agenda is to secure the relationship. Once we do, that hidden agenda disappears, and now starts the real phase. Can I continue being so generous, so respectful, listen to you, be so present when I already have you? You already said yes. That's all usually when we enter the second phase of the relationship, which is the more power struggle, when we start triggering each other and we stop doing the things we used to do in the beginning. So for couples who, like myself, who, we started dating and we dated for 3 years, I do believe that we fall in love. But I know that there is another way, and equally great, which is to be matched with someone that, of course, you agree, right? And I know that because you usually get married within a few meetings that you agree, love grows the more you know the person. And what is love? You mentioned what is love. I like to quote Manis Friedman on this. Love is the desire to get to know someone deeper. And that's why when we're falling in love, we want to know so much about the other person. And we can be on the phone for hours and just listen. So for marriages that were arranged, as you move in together, you get married, you move in together, you start to learn each other, you start to know each other, and that's how love grows. If we view love as the desire to know someone deeper, then we always fall in love deeper and deeper. The more you know the person, the more time you are with them, the more you know them, the more there is to love. That's why I always say you should never stop doing a PhD on your partner. Never assume you know them. We're also always changing, right? We're always changing. We're facing new situations. So we're always learning about each other.
Definitely. I can vouch for that. You've mentioned, I think you're married 28 years. I'm a little bit ahead of the game. I'm up to 40 years, and I think
Wow.
we're still learning.
That's so beautiful.
And yeah, we're both therapists actually, and I'm a coach. He's a therapist, but even people think, no, there's work to do at all times,
Oh.
And even though, that's because people are human, and where the ego comes in, and that's where we have to. And there's also inner child work to be taken care of sometimes. That as far as love is even the way I would differentiate love is the way I said it also, because even though, let's say, okay, you've dated for 3 years and you felt love, also I would differentiate, because sometimes you also feel there's love and there's also a chemistry. I feel chemistry is more a spiritual feeling that you're feeling for that person from soul to soul. It definitely borders love, but it's not yet the fully, truly love, because
you don't know them.
You don't know them. And it's not only that. Where I find love really comes in, let's say, and we know men and women are different, right? And also when you're coming from two different cultures and you're getting married, it's also different. And then you're coming from even from the same culture, but it's two different backgrounds and two different families,
Absolutely.
and they like red milk and they like blue milk, it's different. So what happens? What I feel is, so if I like to drink in the morning a coffee and she likes to drink lemon juice, I have to make sure there's lemon juice in the fridge and make sure that I'm bringing her lemon juice. Why don't you drink the same thing as I drink coffee? Or it's the smallest type of, to see the other spouse with their eyes. That is love. That is
Yeah.
that's a
Yes.
definition. Yeah, beautiful. You mentioned something which that I like your word. You're using powerful couple. These words sound
Yeah. The power couple. Yes.
powerful couple, and I think that's everything you're basing it around called a powerful couple. I think that's your powerful academy, your powerful framework. Can you tell us, how does a powerful couple look like?
A power couple.
Power couple.
So
Power
yeah.
couple.
So how does it look like? Okay. I think it looks like differently for everybody. Some people think of power couple, they think about wealthy people. Obviously, that's not my intention behind that expression. For me, a power couple is a couple who has a common vision, and the vision is clear, and they are working together towards that vision while also fulfilling each other individually. So they are aligning their vision. They feel like they're each other's best friend, confidant, accomplice, and supporter, like each other's cheerleader. And they're always creating. That's also very important. So not only they're also growing individually, they're always creating, expanding their vision of the legacy of what they want to do in the world. So it's two purposes that come together to create a bigger purpose.
Do couples always have to have the same vision on everything?
It's not about having the same vision. It's about having a common vision. You can run a business if each business owner has a completely different vision for the business, correct?
So that's what you mean.
The same.
So you mean the vision in the marriage?
Vision of the
Meaning
yes.
It's not that somebody's going to say, I'm a Republican, that's a Democrat. That doesn't matter, really.
No, that's not what I'm talking. Obviously, they need to have the same values, but you could have different political views. Right. But having a common vision means that we know where we're going. We're both working together to make that happen. And this is where we both want to go. It does not take away from personal fulfillment and each one having your own careers. But you do need to work as two founders of one business. And I think that when couples are not working together towards a common vision, they usually are facing a lot of challenges, because that's another way of staying together, right? We unite ourselves when we are working towards a common vision, or we can also be working towards common problems, and we really get to choose. So it requires communication. It requires talking about what we want and asking ourselves the deeper questions and designing that common vision together.
And by not doing nothing, what happens?
By not creating a vision, you mean? Then when you don't create a vision that everybody's going to be working towards their own personal goals, and they might not be aligned, and then that's how we start drifting apart. But we drift apart because we start disconnecting. And as we start disconnecting, resentment gets built, right? Because we feel misunderstood, we feel unsupported. And then we start building that resentment. And because of the resentment, we start drifting apart. The idea is to create a bond of trust and a common vision. And through this bond of trust and partnership, move forward together.
How would you, how long does it take? And I'm also thinking of people that are, being matchmaked and they didn't date for a long time. How do they build a bond of trust?
I think a bond of trust is built. That's such a beautiful
question. Even if people, I would say, even if they date, before marriage and after marriage is two different stories already.
Yes. Yeah. So I think a bond of trust is built through the 4 pillars described in my book. Okay. So the first pillar is called the me, and that's about personal self-mastery, personal responsibility, taking care of your own inner child, working on your own triggers, working on your own wounds, self-regulation, making sure that you don't use your partner as a punching bag, or you don't outsource your happiness to your partner. So personal fulfillment is the me pillar. Everything that is about me becoming the most productive, fulfilled, and someone who feels my own potential individual. So that's the first pillar. If I'm not taking responsibility of my own things, it's very difficult to trust me. You wouldn't trust somebody that all they do is blame others for their issues, right? So you can see how that contributes to building that bond of trust. When 2 individuals agree to work on themselves and to explore what they want, what makes them happy. Hence, I did a career change when I was 35 because I needed to find my own fulfillment. I cannot expect my husband to make me happy, right? So the first pillar is the me. Second pillar is the you. And the you means that I help you, my partner, in your self-mastery. I do that through friendship. I do that through respect and generosity. And I do that by getting to know you. So how can I support you in your life mission? I need to know you in order to be a true friend. I need to know how you operate, respect your ways of operating. For example, I give a concrete example. My husband is a very linear thinker. He can deal with one task at a time. I'm like most women, are more of a multitasker. So I could give him 10 instructions. He will only remember one, right? If I ask him to do 10 things, he'll remember one. Or if we're working,
I think that's a male and female
yes.
thing.
So we're working together while he's doing something, I already am thinking about the next step, but I'm not going to communicate with him because I know he won't be able to retain it. So can I respect your ways? Can I respect that I want to talk to you right now, but you're watching your show? So will I just, come and say, hey, I need to talk to you and I couldn't care less what you're watching? Or would I say, hey, I need to discuss something. Is this a good time? And if he says, can it wait? I'll say, yes. When would you be available? And I know it sounds very formal, but it's actually, when you put it into the practice, it's not. Every time we want to talk to each other, I'm not talking about casual talk, but deeper stuff, we say, there's something I want to discuss. This is a good
Make
time.
an appointment.
Call it that way. And we actually taught our children the same, because I work from home. So the last thing I want is somebody coming to the office in the middle of the task and talking to me and not being fully present for them. So we taught them to do the same. So all of that, what is your love language? How do you want to be loved? How do you feel loved? What triggers you? All of that is part of knowing your partner. It's part of studying, doing a PhD on your partner. And that's the second pillar, right? If I know you, I can trust you. You don't trust people you don't know. How much do you know your partner truly? Sometimes we tell each other memories that I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you went through that. And we've been married for 28 years. The third pillar is the our pillar. This is the operational. This is where we create that vision and we work together to make it happen. So being operational reduces chaos. It's about coordinating our schedules, coordinating our days, working together as a team, asking each other for what we need. I like to name the 3 C's: communication, coordination, and collaboration. If we communicate, we can coordinate, then we collaborate. So the reason that we want to have these operational rituals, as I call them, which is the coordination, is because otherwise it's very easy to have last minute scrambles to everybody. I didn't know you had a meeting. I thought you were picking my child. So things like that. And that creates chaos. And chaos is the biggest enemy of intimacy. So our goal is to make sure that this company, which is our marriage, runs as smoothly as possible, that everybody knows where we're going. There's a common mission, a common vision, and everybody knows the roles and responsibilities, but we also collaborate. We don't work in silos, because we know that for any company, and I like to parallel marriage with business, in any company, silos create disconnection. I heard this line this week saying, if you go alone, you'll get there faster, but if you go together, you'll get further. And this is really what the our pillar is all about. Our world, our vision, our children, our finances, our home. And then once we have these 3 in place, then the last pillar, the 4th one, happens naturally. And that's the us pillar, US. us. And us is the sacred union of the marriage, is the intimacy in every level. There are many levels of intimacy, but obviously the physical level as well. That's the most sacred union. And in order for it to feel right, you need to have a bond of trust. You need to feel safe. So if you practice the first three pillars, and each pillar has its own best practices, then that one is it happens effortlessly. It doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like a place you go to be one with your partner.
Yeah,
so this creates a bond of trust. Yes.
That is called a power couple. You definitely, touched on intimacy, which is, first of all, intimacy means into me you see, and that means trust. But, some people even, like I said, you said, physical intimacy is very important. And even in the Kabbalistic aspects, the way God created the world, that's exactly what he wants. And if you have that union, that is what helps you. And even if someone will hide something, doing something which is not appropriate, even if you hide it from your spouse, the union is not there. You broke it. And it's going to go wrong in every way. And then it's not only that you're breaking the marriage, you're breaking your own thing. Let's say even if the marriage ends, you are already going to be broken as well, because this is part of the universe, which the way God created the world, the way he wants it. That's a very, very important thing. And sometimes people are looking things from the outside, which they're not noticing. They have everything from the inside. They just don't know the me. They don't know the you. They don't know the me. That's exactly what you said. That is very, very powerful. What would you say? There's two questions that I have, which is important. I think also listeners to know that. When one couple is very successful in their career and the other one is not, how does that affect the couple? Is that supposed to affect the couple? How do we go about that? And obviously one couple can be very jealous of the other spouse, meaning one spouse of the other spouse, that he or she is very successful. And how do you maneuver that?
So first I would define success. And if that's okay, I'll replace the word success also with fulfillment, because I think that one person could be more successful in more.
I call success as a whole package. It's fulfillment, and it's
yes. So the goal is for everybody to be fulfilled, right? So if one person is not fulfilled, and it has nothing to do with how much money you make or how high in the ladder you are, right? But if you are not fulfilled, you won't be as happy as you can be. You won't be at your best. You won't be in alignment. And that's going to obviously affect every aspect of your life, not just your relationship. It's going to affect your family life in general. It's going to affect how you relate to the world, because you are not at your best. So that's the me pillar, right? That's what we said. What we actually want is to support each other in striving for fulfillment. I always believe that we can create together more than we can create on your own, So I like to challenge the myth that being in a relationship takes your freedom away.
Yeah, but I'm saying, let's say one couple, one of the spouses is fulfilled in her career and everything, and the other one is not fulfilled. Especially, let's say, if a man does not bring in, enough even to support the family, that is very hard for the man in order to be at that space.
It's very hard because it affects.
He won't feel fulfilled anymore either, because his fulfillment is to make sure to be a supporter.
Exactly. Well, the man is the male. Usually the man has the male energy in the relationship, which is the provider, the supporter, the protector. So that healthy polarity of male and female energy we want it to have, because that's also the polarity we need for intimacy, right? If there's no polarity, if the man doesn't own his masculine energy, or the woman is too much in a masculine energy, then we're lacking polarity. And that is unhealthy for a relationship. So if a man is not able to provide, that's definitely going to affect, because he won't be as happy as he can be. He won't feel worthy, even though he won't feel it. Now, sometimes men are providing, but they're not fulfilling their career. They say they would wish to do something else. That also will affect, because if you're not happy with what you're doing, you're not at your best. But not being able to provide, usually it's a bigger concern for men than fulfillment. Absolutely.
And what should they do at that time?
I think they should tackle this as a couple challenge. I mean, it's the man's challenge, but work together to find a solution. And that it has to start with communication, with where you are, where you want to be, how can I support you, what do you need from me? I'll give you an example. When I did a career change, although of course we're reversing, because obviously I'm, as the woman, I came to my husband and I said, I no longer.
You're referring to, I think you were a chemical engineer.
I was a chemical engineer, yes, and no longer wanted to do that. And I remember speaking with my husband and saying, I would like to become a coach, and that means that it's going to compromise our income temporarily. It's going down in order to go up again. And then we agree on that. We agree together that that's okay temporarily to do that for a couple of years. We agree also on what the deadline is. We said, okay, as soon as at that time my second child enters grade 1, because he was going to a private school, we would need you to be at this level at least. If not, we need to reevaluate. This is an ultimatum. If you're not making X amount of money by that time, you have to go back to a job. The conversation was, okay, these are the parameters that we can operate within those limits. Once he goes to grade 1, that we have to pay a different tuition, we need you to be making X amount of money. Otherwise, we need to reevaluate. And so he supported me, but we also were very clear about what's the vision and what are the boundaries of within that vision. That's what I'm talking about. You tackle it as a team. Ultimately, was obviously my responsibility and my job to build my own coaching business. Not that he did that for me, but we were synchronized, we were aligned. And what that alignment provided was also permission. I'll tell you what I mean by that. If he didn't know that for the next 2 years, I might not be making as much money and that I'm working on my business, then he could easily come every day and say, when are you going to start making some money? When are you going to start making some money? Why would he ask that every time? Because he doesn't know what I'm doing. He doesn't know how long it's going to take. But the moment we actually coordinated, we communicated and coordinated, it allowed us to collaborate, because now you know what I'm doing. We knew how long this was going to take. So I have this permission of taking this couple of years to build my business. And that's what I mean by communication leads to coordination and leads to collaboration, whether it's on big changes like career change or on a weekly basis when you coordinate the week ahead.
So I will question you actually in your story that you wanted to make a career change from chemical to being a coach. What triggered that? Was that about fulfillment?
Well, that was purely about fulfillment.
Okay, so here's my question then. If you are looking for fulfillment and your husband here's about the money aspect, what's more important over here now? You understand? Your fulfillment, if you're going to be back a chemical engineer, yes, but your fulfillment won't be there. That will also suffer in the marriage.
Of course.
So
and that's why
how does someone really take care of that? Because I think isn't fulfillment in a way before even covering because I think once you have fulfillment, I think you're going to figure it out. Like I was wondering, how do you approach that? Because you won't be fulfilled, you're not helping the marriage either.
Exactly. That's why always the first pillar is the me. You have to find what makes you happy. You have to be fulfilled. When I did a career change, I also moved here. So I had a window. I was doing other things before. Nothing fulfilled me. And when I knew what I wanted to do, I couldn't ignore it. But it was for me to search and find and clarify to myself how fulfillment looks like for me. And once I'm clear, that's the me pillar, then I can actually discuss it with him. And then he has a choice. He supports me because for two reasons. He understands that my fulfillment is going to make a better marriage, and because he loves me. Or he says, no, I only want instant gratification. I don't want to think about that. If you're happier, this is going to, make a better marriage. I want you to work now. I want the money now. He had a choice as well. He chose to support me because we always worked as a team.
So what was let's say you wanted fulfillment. What would have happened if you wouldn't be able to cover the bills, but the me is here, the me wants that fulfillment? What would you do?
That's why we put a deadline.
He came aboard on board, but what happened? It doesn't come on board.
Okay. Okay, so now you're asking a different question. What happens if you want to do a career change, you want to pursue a personal goal, but your partner doesn't support you? That's your question?
Correct.
Okay. So I think that before you conclude that probably I'm not with the right person or whatever people might think, is to ask yourself, are you really communicating clearly what is that you truly want? So to do a little bit of a better job in selling your vision, right? That's when you go, okay, I want to understand. Sometimes people don't agree. When people don't agree, I always suggest go deeper. Okay. Usually there is a common ground or a compromise, but you have to go deeper. If you don't find that agreement at the top, hey, I want to do a career change. By the way, I might not be making money in the next 2 years. Tell me you're okay with that. That's not what we're looking for, right? That's communication at a surface level, and it's going to be difficult to agree with that. It has to go deeper, has to go into what matters to us, what matters to me, what makes me happy. How are you seeing me lately? Do you see me happy? What do we want? So the conversation has to happen at a deeper level, heart to heart. And then you can say, okay, if that's a situation, what is it that we can work with? What can we do? And what is it that we cannot work with? We actually decided, I remember, not only we decided we had a window of 2 years, we also decided to compromise our lifestyle. We said, okay, he says, okay, you want to do this? But that means we won't be able to do this and this and this and this. And I said, that's okay. That's a price I'm willing to pay to fulfill myself, knowing that the compromise is temporary. So you need to have these deeper discussions and go as deep as you can until you come up with an idea. Now, if you find that you're hitting a wall and your partner is a no in every aspect, then you need to reevaluate, how come I'm with someone who cannot see me, right? So that's a different type of work altogether there. What do I need to do for this person to see me? Where do I need to work on myself, right? Because I might have the wound of not being understood, not being seen.
So when somebody feels not seen, that person should be working on themselves.
Exactly. That's what I said. Where do I carry the wound of not being heard, not being understood, not being seen?
Is there anything that the person that is not being seen still to communicate with the other spouse to find out how come I'm not being seen, or why don't you see me? Can that question be asked? Or they still strictly have to work only on themselves to see. Actually, they need to find out what the issue is. But is there always that the person has to work on themselves, or there is an issue over here? The other spouse is not seeing me. They also need help.
I
They
think
might need help.
yes. And that's where the you pillar, the understanding, the being a friend, I would so I'll tell you how I would approach it. I don't think there's no one recipe, but the way I would approach it, and this is how we approach when I'm triggered, when my husband triggers me, okay? This is our repairing.
That can really happen.
Of course,
Oh, okay.
never stop happening. It's just that we really know how
Yeah,
to
let the people know about this. They think, yes, it happens. The idea is, how do you deal when
how
that
do
happens?
you deal with it, how you repair. In fact, if it wouldn't happen, I would be concerned, because this is how we take our relationship every time to the next level, right? There's a challenge, we work it through, and then our connection is deeper. So the way that I usually approach when I'm triggered, whether it's I'm being I feel unseen and misunderstood, is first and foremost, I work on myself always. What is it within me that I need to resolve?
Can you describe how that looks like?
How do I do that?
Yeah.
Usually ask myself, what do I feel? Let's say I feel rejection. Just to give an example, I would say, okay, when was the first time I felt that way? Where is this coming from? And why am I still carrying this one?
You're connecting the dots all the way back.
Yeah.
And once you see that.
So once you know, you can apply different approaches. I like to ask myself, what is it that I was missing at that time when I felt rejected? Let's say when I was 10 years old and I felt rejected. And how can I give this to myself today? It's probably what I'm missing today.
Makes sense.
And then, so it's for me to become self-aware of what is it in me that I'm attracting this situation with my husband. And then once I am not reactive, I never communicate from reaction. I would say never is a very strong word. I try not to communicate from being reactive or triggered. Once I did my work and I'm not triggered anymore, then yes, is to communicate and say how you felt, and also understand why the other person reacted that way. How can I see you in this? What is it that I need to understand about you and this situation? And that's when you have an open dialogue of, because for the most part, we assume that the other one reacted because XYZ, because they don't care, they're insensitive, they're not considerate. For the most part, it's not that. So what is it? Come without assumptions, with an open mind. Yes, share how you felt, but what is it that I need to understand about you and the way you reacted?
Now, it's also sometimes what happens between couples. A couple will always point fingers. Well, you need to go to therapy. One couple say to the other, you need to go to therapy?
Of course, they can say that. I like to say, perhaps you would like to work that on your own, or to visit that with someone.
And what happens if the couple, the spouse does not? One couple is working on themselves and the other one is not. How do we? I guess again a communication that needs to be addressed, I guess.
Yeah, so there could be different scenarios. Sometimes when one is working on themselves, that on its own affects the relationship very positively. And what we see is that the other one eventually joins. So it could be that one starts and the other one will join once they see the benefit of that.
That's what you just said. So that makes a lot of sense, because once they see the benefit and they see there's a change in the other spouse, because I don't believe that one couple can, unless the communication is so good and the connection, because it could also be very, very triggering, say, you need to go. You don't need to go nothing, or even you need to work it out on your own. That can be very triggering and hurtful and nothing. But if one couple, one spouse works on themselves and they see change and they hear, I think there's a reflection, there's a mirror going on.
Exactly, exactly. That is very powerful when you see
That's what
change and you see
patience.
that your partner is
Have
treating you
patience.
differently. Huh?
You need to give it time. You need to give it patience.
Yes, but that's okay, because do the right thing because it's the right thing, right? Not to get something in return. You treat your partner respectfully because that's the right thing to do. You work on yourself because this is good for you. And then most likely you're going to see the result. The other one is going to say, you've been different. Well, yeah, I'm working on myself. Oh, but one thing I want to say about working on myself, and this is because of personal experience, is that being a coach, or you also are too, you have a coach and a therapist in your home, we sometimes believe that our partner needs to work on themselves the way we do. Okay. And that's something I learned, is that my husband will work on himself very differently than I do. Sometimes men process things
But
by
before marriage, we were two different children. We didn't live in the same house. So we still have,
sorry.
because before marriage, we were living in two different houses.
Mm-hmm.
And we were two different types of children as well. Two inner child different. And that's
Exactly. So he will work on the fact that he's not doing it the way I would do it. It doesn't mean he's not working on himself. So that's something I learned. But yes, it's enough that one starts and is patient and keeps doing the work. The other one will usually join. Yes.
And as far as also you mentioned before as well as intimate physical touch, and even there we find sometimes couples are not on the same page. And I guess yes, we do have to know what the love language is. We do have to know all of that. But what do you advise as couples? You know, they are not on the same page on intimacy. How do you bring them together? I don't think that I would say most of the couples, that's my experience, are not on the same page. But once you communicate and you understand each other, you could be to make it work. What's your experience in that particular?
So usually there's a reason why the ass is the last pillar. When that pillar is not at its best, it's usually, that's not the issue, right? It's a symptom. It becomes a symptom of another problem. And that, and explore, okay, what's affecting the intimacy? What's getting in the way? Of course, what you said is also very important. If they're not in the same page, but there are no other underlying issues, is to make sure that they communicate. And there's a me pillar too in intimacy. What do you need to work on yourself to feel safe and to feel understood and to feel that you can be yourself, or you can express what you want, actually, right? There's a lot of beliefs and cultural taboos that could be affecting the intimacy. So as I said, for the most part, it's a symptom to another problem. And what we want to explore is what is getting in the way and address that. But also on the action level is communicating. Communicating is an integral part of all the pillars, even the me pillar. When I'm working on myself, communicating means, look, I think I'm going to go to a room. I need to be alone. It has nothing to do with you. I'm not the best company today. I'm going through something. I was triggered at work and I really need this time. That's communicating in the me pillar, right? So communication is an integral part of creating a life together. And it will be part of each of the four pillars.
Communication is number one in marriage. Actually, it's number one in everything, even in a relationship. But and there are people that are struggling with communication. They're totally closed. Their emotional system is closed. They're in a freeze. How do we go about that?
So we need to work with each individual separately first. The me pillar again. If the nervous system doesn't feel safe to communicate, somatically speaking, if I might work on myself and all my belief system, but if my nervous system says I'm not speaking up, then it's going to be very, very difficult. And so you want to work on that. So I always love working and addressing everything at two different levels, the mindset and the actions. So on the mindset level, I would do the inner work for each person that is having a challenge to communicate. So the nervous system feels it's safe, and they also have no inner blocks around that. On the action level is also teaching communication, teaching the best protocols for couples to communicate and understand each other. Because many people never had a good example at home of what it is to communicate. All they heard were yelling, right? Or so they go, I'm not going to communicate because I don't want to fight, so I'm not going to talk at all. So how do you communicate? Even if you didn't have a good example at home, can you learn it now? Can you learn to express what you need? And not just to stay at the surface level, but to go deeper. So it's really the art, why communication is so important, because these 4 pillars not only create a bond of trust, but they are the fabric to create connection. It's the art of creating connection, right? So it starts with connecting with yourself with the me pillar, then connecting with you and the way you are, and then connecting by creating a life together, and then connecting physically in that unity that we're talking, the as pillar. But it is about building connection. And people think sometimes that building connection is a matter of time. It takes a lot of time. I need to invest, because in the beginning, when we start dating, we invest a lot of time. Right? We leave work. It's okay. I'm going to leave work. I'll pick you up. I'm going to do everything for you. But connection doesn't always require a lot of time. It requires intentionality.
I hear what you're saying. I usually say that relationship requires investment, and the time, like I mentioned to you before, it gets easier and easier, but you constantly have to work on that connection. You constantly. It doesn't matter, like I said,
Constantly.
yeah, you constantly have to work on that connection and voice, what you don't like or what you do. Like, let's say one spouse is extremely busy at work, or and you're lacking a connection. You love each other, everything is fine, but you're spending a lot of time at work till you come home. So again, that's where the spouse comes and say, I want you, I need you, let's communicate. And you mentioned also before, which is important, is regulating the nerve system is number one aspect in marriage, in everything, but especially in marriage, in order even to see the me and see the you and have this communication and knowing what you want. Because I think that's step number one, when people don't realize I'm working so hard, I'm totally, and I have this, I have the children, I have to pay the bill. You're not home. You're just not here. And that's where, as you know, which where I focus on is on somatic work and knowing, and it's on a physical level and as well on a spiritual level, because they're all connected. And if you don't do that, it's like you're in a freeze, so you're just a robot. You're coming and going and coming, and like you mentioned, I know in your books and things that you can live in the same bedroom, but you look like it's like just like in a dormitory in school, like in college. It's not
Like your roommates, exactly.
roommate.
Exactly. You tap on a very interesting point, and I recently spoke in a cybersecurity and AI conference about how to transition from work into home. So when you're home, you are fully present. Even if you come home at 8 p.m., there is how do you come home? Is your nervous system regulated? Did you do the transition? You need to have a transition period, because your nervous system cannot just go on off just like that. So it is very important to reset yourself from when you transition from work into the home, because the way you enter your home helps build the culture of the home, the emotional culture of the home. So you can have two people that are, as you said, very successful, even making a lot of money, and even being well coordinated. But the culture in the home, the emotional culture, the atmosphere, the energy in the home, it's not nurturing. It doesn't feel like home. So the idea also is that when you transition from work into your home, is that home feels a place where you can recharge. It feels a place that puts you together, that your nervous system can relax, and not a battlefield you have to manage. But in order to get to that place, in order to create that, you have to take responsibility, invest, do marriage development. You have to continuously invest in the relationship. So you have that home that can put you back together when you come from work, even if you're coming from work at 9 p.m. because you had a very stressful day at work. In other words, I like to say that leadership doesn't end at work. The most important leadership aspect is in the house, in your home. Your dinner table is your boardroom. And sometimes I have clients that say to me, what else can I possibly do to make my business work? I don't know what else to do. I've done everything. I'm like, how's your marriage? And they go, why are you asking me that question? It has nothing to do with business. It has everything to do with business. If you think there's nothing more that you could do in your business, and your business is not operating or bringing the revenue you want, take a look at your marriage. You'll be surprised that once you start investing in your marriage and bringing all your attention there, the business starts to pick up.
This was already said in the Zohar and the Kabbalah, that is brought down already, that success starts at home. Yeah.
There you go. One sentence. Success starts at home.
Starts at home. Yeah,
you know, and it's not just you and your partner, is what you also teach and you mirror to your children. And I'll give you an example. I was speaking with someone the other day, and this person was telling me they have 4 cars in their home. I was surprised. I say, 4 cars? Yeah, we have four drivers. And you think, okay, well, if they can afford themselves to have 4 cars, that's great. But I'm not sure. I'll tell you why. Even if you can afford it, what the person said to me is, yeah, because in the morning I go to work, they go to school, I have to drive them to the train station. It's too much to coordinate. I'm like, but that is exactly the life skills we want to teach. In our home, we also have 4 drivers, soon to have 5, and we have 2 cars. So that means that every night when we have supper, and everybody is living their lives, right? Studying, working. That means that at night when we have supper, we act part of our supper routine is coordinating the schedule. So what time are you going to school? What time do you need to be at the metro station? What time, Dad, are you going to the office or are you working from home tomorrow? All that needs to be coordinated between us and our 3 children. If we had a car for each one of them, we would be missing this opportunity to work as a team. That's the our pillar, to communicate, to coordinate, and to collaborate. And we wouldn't be teaching them the skills they need to then bring this into their future homes.
Beautiful.
So I'm not sure that even if you can afford a car per head in the home, that's the right thing. So all this to say, going back to what I started with, the culture you build at home. First of all, as you said, it doesn't stay at home. It goes with you into your work because your nervous system goes with you to work. But it also affects the next generation, how you raise your children and what they get to learn from you.
Beautiful. So we're getting to the top of the hour. I would like you to give us, for the audience, some words, what they should be looking, give them how to just how to go forward and what, leave them with a good word, with something nice in order they can take home with. Again, we had a beautiful podcast here, but some practical words that they can really use, like a small toolkit.
So I'll give two tips. Always prioritize connection. Connection fixes everything else. And in that conference that I was doing a mastermind, and one business owner told me, I feel disconnected from my spouse. I asked him a question. I said, do you call your spouse during the middle of the day? He says, only if I need something from her. Said, okay, can you actually call her once a day just to ask how's your day going? Not because you need something. He said, I don't have time. I'm always running and running. I'm running my business. I said, I understand that and I respect that. Can you put an alarm in your phone to remind you every day at noon, call my spouse and ask, or text her, how are you? How's your day going? So pick one ritual of connection, whether it is you're going to go to the door and say, give a hug to your spouse and say, have a good day, rather than yelling from the kitchen, bye. No, you actually go to the door, give them a hug and say, have a good day. Or you send them a message or call them in the middle of the day and say, how's your day going? One ritual of connection. I told him, you do this for a week, you're going to come home, your wife is going to start smiling more. I promise you. Pick one ritual of connection that you can do, tiny ritual, because these are actually the ones that create the most amount of impact. Okay, it doesn't take much to course correct. So that's one. And for those who are coming from a stressful day at work, before you enter your home, ask yourself, who do I want to be when I enter my home? And as soon as you step into the door, start with connection. Go to your spouse, give them a hug and say, how are you? Then move into logistics or whatever. And if you come home overwhelmed from your day and you cannot do that, being home in a few days, in a few minutes, I had a crazy day. Give me 15 minutes to shower and decompress, and then I'll be with you. Communicate. People are going to understand if they know what you're up to. Communicate it.
Beautiful. Excellent. So if people want to contact you, I'm actually going to be typing it on the bottom of the channel as well. But if you want to just best way to contact you and to find your information.
They can contact me on my website, Gabriela, with one L, Gabriela, Embon, EMBON.com, on LinkedIn, or find my book on Amazon, Becoming a Power Couple, 4 Pillars to Engineer Legendary Marriages.
Beautiful. I thank you so much. And it was
Thank
a pleasure
you,
having you and all the wisdom. And really, we see, sometimes you have people, they sell something, but they're not up to it. We definitely feel from your words that you're up to it and you're in the work, you're doing it. It's shining out. And that what makes a huge difference in this podcast here with you.
Thank you so much, Mendy. It was a pleasure. Really, thank you for having me.
Thank you.